Alright, we're here today with Turbine Researches, Turboffice BMW. We're going to be doing some upgrades. I have a 351 cover that's been modified we're going to use, so his gold cover is going to go away. I just have to repaint it. Sorry, buddy. Make sure to put your elbow in there for you. But we're going to be doing a health checkup on this thing. Mark it before taking it apart. This will be 10 millimeters should do the trick. Get this apart. Lost my tool I need. Big thing he was asking about is seeing if it. So this is the same turbocharger he's been beating on the street and on the dyno. Did 558 wheel. 558. So that puts it actually right around, I think, like 90% of what this compressor wheel can do. And the issue is, as cool as it is to go and take this thing to where it runs out of compressor, what you would see is it going rich as soon as it hit that, and then drive and everything else to stay in check. Just gonna go ahead and change this thing out to a 60, because what you're starting to do with, what they'll do first is they'll do that. They'll just lay the horsepower, we'll just lay flat as engine RPM goes up when they run out. And then after that, they burst. And it's usually not too much farther after that. What's wild is just how clean this thing is, other than all the hacking foam that's on this thing. Go ahead and take a look at the yeah, looks good. Corrosion from the alcohol, out of this world. Scoot you guys down a little bit. No. That's this turbine wheel. So this thing's had a bunch of runtime on it, and because it's on alcohol, it's basically completely clean. I mean, gasoline's about the same way, but you get some discoloration with gasoline. This has none. So the one thing I was asking is if it rotated or not. She'll tell, because I think this is the old mark on this guy here, but we'll find out in just a second. These pliers are 45-degree long nose that I've beveled into snap ring pliers. Doing that works great. Then snap ring's nice and tight. Ooh, thing's really tight. I need a block or something to hit this. So these snap rings get wedged in here like this. You can kind of come in them at the holes. And drive them up and out. Everything's still super tight. This one's really tight. Let me get a pry bar. You, not you, you. There we go. He wasn't gonna have any boost leaks. That's for sure. On the phone. Okay. That's what we're looking at. So this blade here, the one. The marks are gone. I have to retry it with a paint marker. So there's no way for me to really tell if this spun or not. My guess is it hasn't, because it is perfectly lined up with the blade towards the back here. But because of the, actually there's a, never mind. I'm not seeing anything strange out of place. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull off this wheel set. At the corner. I did Loctite this one and use the higher torque specs. But I don't think I'll be using, I haven't used Loctite in a little bit. And I think a big part of that was guessing it, trying to solve an issue. And I think I've solved the problem just by understanding how the turbine wheel works better. I don't believe that the Loctite is a necessity anymore. Here's our wheel, compressor side. There's no stretching. This is a 57 millimeter he341. So it looks fantastic, other than all the packaging stuff that's stuck on it. So there's no stretching on this backside here. Looks fantastic. So definitely not out of compressor yet, because if we were out of compressor, we'd be where the compressor wheel is stretching. Little taparoo. Always smells good. Smells like race car. He does have. There's actually from it probably being so. All this oil on here. If I just took this apart and didn't know what I was looking at, I'd probably blame all this as in the turbo leaking oil at the turbine side. But what this is more than likely is that the turbo's full of oil during shutdown, obviously, and then it was taken off and put on its side like this in the box, and it's been sitting in the box like that for, I don't know, 2-3 weeks. And this is just oil from inside the shaft assembly draining down, going past the piston ring end gaps because they're not designed to seal oil. It's draining down into here. So you kind of first look at this and want to say, oh, there's a problem with the rear piston ring seal. In all actuality, it's just because this thinner oil that they run in this, this car is down there. What I am saying here, Mr. Turbine Research, see these little dots, a dot, a dot, a dot, and the discoloring. Those are from hot shutdowns. So this thing was shut off. Maybe they're reading plugs or they're doing something, but that's what that's from. That's from hot shutdowns, and where there's no bearing to pull heat out, so where the feed holes are through the bearing, it gets progressively hot, and it heat tints the shaft like that. And if you overdo that, what'll happen is it'll swell that journal bearing. The worst thing is it'll get to this where it is swelled up, and then the vehicle gets restarted. The journal bearing will typically be spin. That's how that works. If you're otherwise unlucky, it'll swell, and because they're softer, it'll push itself into the oil feed hole upwards, distort itself, and now have a high spot right there. I'll check this guy. The piston ring seal looks fine. Not catching a lip with my fingertip, just a little bit discolored from heat. But it has plenty of spring tension in it. It's going to come out very good. There we go. Plenty of spring tension in it, nothing wrong with it. It's good. This oil is just here from it's sitting on its backside. Doesn't have any burnt up deposits, stuff like that. But this tinting here at the back, man, I wish this stuff came in better. That's from hot shutdowns. I said it is a SI. This front stuff right there is more than likely because it's getting close to its limit, its speed limit with that compressor width. These shafts are starting to deflect, so this shaft will want to drive the nose down. This shaft, the compressor wheel side, wants to torque this part of the shaft this way, or this way. So it does an S curve. All turbos do this. There is no turbo that's immune from it. It's just gyroscopic motion with rotating parts. That's why the bearings and shafts are certain sizes that they are. Running maybe a little bit heavier oil or a high pressure additive would probably help with that quite a bit. Oil. Let's go ahead. Rear retainer out. Inspection. When they do heat tint like that, it doesn't usually damage the bearings unless it gets to the extreme part of it. Where is square file? Some of these snap rings, there we go. The holes are a little smaller. Yeah, so there's a fair amount of scuffing on this guy. I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. Bore looks good. A little bit of heat marking in the bore, but not bad. Just discoloration. That's not, I don't care for the scuffing that's on that guy there. I'm not pulling any oil out of the front. Front piston ring looks great. We'll have to take that guy off for the rebalance because we're going to go ahead and modify the turbine wheel. Our ring feels good. Rust looks pretty sure exactly the same as when it left. This is an OEM thrust, and I do try to use it. Just has discoloration from oil going across it. But one thing I learned, mainly building transmissions, the OEM parts are really good. Other than the stuff that's the weak links. So generally sticking with the OEM stuff when you can is fantastic. So if you go in and get into one of these guys, and there's nothing wrong, reseal, but the bearings are all good, I would use the OEM bearing. Nobody makes a kit that uses that same metallurgy of the bearings. They are superior. OEMs typically always hold things to a higher standard. That goes a really long ways. So now debris in our oil feed holes. Drain looks good. See, you did some port work on the drain. Nothing at the back of the housing there. Good. Yep, everything looks real nice. The only thing, like I said, we're gonna clean up this back section here. I'll throw it in the sonic cleaner for a few. Clean up that rear piston ring seal area. The drain is still maybe a little on the small side, but you'd probably get in there and drill this out a little bit more if you wanted to. You can see where the groove and fitting is sealing on there. You could probably take it all the way out to that if you wanted to, and it would probably help take care of that. other than that, looks great. So this hot shutdowns and speed. It's just the shaft wanting to twist itself apart. They're all, I mean, electric motors, anything that spins, especially at really high rates of speeds, that's what it's trying to do. It's a very complex S-curve type shape that they're trying to do to themselves. And so your two fulcrums is the turbine and the compressor. So between here, they're trying to one twist this thing this direction from load from this one going this way, load from this one going opposite direction. So plus that S curve that's in there. That's what this here is from. We're going to slow the rotor speed down by going to a larger compressor wheel, and then I'm going to do some turbine work to get it to breathe even a little bit better. And it's going to go from a compressor that's good to about, this is about 60, 58, 63 pounds a minute. And he's at 558, so we're getting close. 60 mils good to 70 pounds a minute, plus some turbine work. So if he wanted to, he shouldn't have any problems making upwards of 650 to 680. So he should see through these modifications, and then either more boost pressure or more engine speed, because it's going to have to rev higher to breathe more pounds a minute. It should be able to do in that 650 to 680 range is what we should kind of see. I mean, maybe it'll do 700 with the turbine work. I don't quite know that part yet. I know on the diesels it's pretty straightforward to take them right to 70 pounds and they'll go flat. So I'm gonna get to work. Maybe I'll do a rebuilding video, putting this thing back together. Just needs new journals. Everything else looks fantastic. Can't show what I'm doing to this guy. Sorry. New compressors right here. We want a side by side. 57, 60. Why a bit bigger? Bigger exducer, bigger inducer. Basically the same, about the same profile. Yep. It's just larger. So this one has slower air speeds, but compresses more per revolution. So, thank you. Hope you enjoyed this. Bye. Got BMW's guy balanced up. So compressor side, turbine side, given 55 is the standard, or what's allowed. Say we're pretty good, so that's 0.055, we're at 0.005 and 0.003. So, ready to rock and roll. All right, we're back. Table's an absolute mess because stuff has been crazy. But I have the BMW Turbocharger ready to rock and roll. So now 6086 cast compressor wheel, factory 351, same turbine housing, but did turbine work. Basically some reshaping to make the turbine wheel stronger and to make it flow more, as much as I can go into that with what's going on with them right now. But should see anywhere from, it's going to take more boost or more RPM to make more power. The problem is that at about 6,200 RPMs, drive was spiking real hard. This should solve this and let him continue to rev higher. So what it's making at the RPM it's making now, if the boost stays the same, then it's going to make basically the same power. It might make a little bit more because drive's going to be down some, but not going to like pick up some crazy amount. So what can happen is he can turn the boost pressure up. That probably can't happen because torque's about at the max. I believe it's around 650 foot-pounds torque, and he doesn't want to make any more than that. So. All right, so we're back. I said it's not going to pick up like a whole, because it didn't have everywhere under 6,000. It was fine. It was when it went above 6,000 we had problems. And we don't want to make more torques. We can't change the boost pressure. So the next thing that it's going to do is, by doing what we've done to this turbocharger, it's going to allow him to rev it to a higher engine RPM. What RPM he goes to, don't know. Whatever he knows historically wise those motors can safely run to. The higher he can rev it at that boost level, the more power it's going to make. Given, the head and the cam don't get in the way. So, or if he has, he does, if he has electronic boost control, he can start letting the boost creep on the boost controller once it hits 650 foot-pounds torque. So you can pull the boost out of it down low and then start ramping the boost in by RPM. So boost by mile an hour, so boost by gear. And as it goes up in RPM, once it crests that 650 foot-pounds mark, or you can even lower it down to 600 and hold a 600 foot-pound mark, or you can go up in torque as the RPM gets higher, because the dwell time that pressure on the piston is less as RPM goes up. It's most things where it's going to come down to what his experience is with that engine block, and setup. What can it take cylinder pressure wise? That's what torque is, cylinder pressure, and then torque with RPM is cylinder pressure over time. You get, and then horsepower is how rapidly that torque's applied to the output shaft, to the flywheel. So those are the things that he can consider. I've done my part here. Turbocharger's ready to rock and roll with this new compressor wheel that's in it. Without even the turbine work, I'd expect it to go at least about, if we use the same history with what I did with the 57, it would top out about 650 wheel, somewhere in there. And then with the turbine work, if he can rev the engine high enough, or if he can start turning the boost up at higher engine RPMs, it should do right around 680 to 720 wheel, depending on if he can get the engine to meet the conditions necessary with the boost levels and the IATs afterwards to make that happen. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little video of modifying this turbocharger. It was totally forgot that I had to pocket machine the center cartridge out, so you guys saw that in the video. Spent a little bit of extra time and put in a ball end mill at the end there and tapered the surfaces with it. I used a 2-flute because it's what I had. I'm no professional machinist. I know what it's supposed to sound like, but it did the trick, and it looks nice. So he's going to get this, and hopefully the next video is going to be from Turbine Research. Check them out on Instagram and YouTube. Thank you.